Welcome to the next in our Legends series, and I'm really pleased to be joined today by Senior Designer Les Martin from John Nicholls. So good morning, Les.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Good, fantastic. You're not too nervous in today?
I don't know, a little bit.
Just a little bit?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that's natural.
Yeah.
Okay, right, so first question we're going to ask you today, if we could, is when did you start in the KBB industry and which companies have you worked with?
Right, well, I started in the KBB industry 40 years ago, working for English Rose Kitchens in Warwick.
English Rose Kitchens?
Yeah, the original English Rose.
Oh, okay.
But I was designing frontals when I was there, not kitchen layouts.
So frontals mean as in doors
As
only?
in doors only.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then after 2 years, I came to work in Banbury in a shop selling English Rose kitchens.
Okay.
And then I worked for...
This is still the frontals only?
Oh no,
This was now
designing
the
kitchens.
complete kitchen?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So, and so it's 38 years now I've been designing kitchens.
38 years?
Yeah.
Any idea how many kitchens you've designed
Oh,
over 38 years?
A few thousand.
More than 10?
As it should be, yeah.
A few thousand kitchens?
Yeah, it would be now, yeah.
Can you remember, Les, the most expensive kitchen you'd ever designed?
Yes, yeah. I've done two very expensive kitchens.
Yeah.
One in Hampstead
Okay.
and one down in Tame.
Nice part of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For good clients.
Okay. What sort of money was that?
Oh,
circa?
Around 100.
100,000? So
This has gone back a long time.
Did it go smoothly?
Yes, quite smoothly, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you made sure it went smoothly?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Visit regularly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good
very,
tip, isn't
very
it?
important.
When you're project managing, you visit regularly
Absolutely.
with the client.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But I like to visit my projects even if they're supply only.
Do you now?
Yeah.
So no responsibility, but there is
Yeah,
responsibility.
to keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
To keep the customer happy.
Yes, that's good advice, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So which retailers after English Road did you work with before you came to John Nicholls?
Well, I sold, in my history, I've sold German, French and Spanish kitchens.
German, French, Spanish.
Yeah.
So you're continental now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And English Rose, of
Of
course.
course, yes.
When I went to sell English Rose in Banbury, I could see how far behind the British market had got compared to the Continentals.
Right. This is going back how many years? This is
This is 38 years ago.
So 38 years ago, the Continentals were more advanced in terms of their offer, range
Yeah.
content?
Range, quality of
The
product.
actual physical quality?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for a little detail, the German range had adjustable legs on the units.
Right, okay, 38 years ago.
Yeah, English Rose had bits of plywood you pushed
Okay, well,
underneath
to the floor. Yeah.
to the floor, yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
which wasn't really ideal.
How long did it take for a British manufacturer to pick up on that concept
Well,
of adjustable legs?
I think a little while, because
Right.
in the end English Rose went bust, didn't it?
Right, okay, the original English
The
Rose,
original English Rose, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okie dokie. So let's talk about design if we can. So can you just explain the best design you've ever done,
Yeah.
why it was the best design?
I don't think I've actually got a best design,
Okay.
because the kitchens can vary so much in the size of the kitchen, the style, the customer's requirements.
Hmm.
So every kitchen should be enjoyable.
Every kitchen is enjoyable.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so what advice can you give in terms of when the customer comes in about giving the customer exactly what they need? How do you do that?
Well, my two important questions for any client, any potential client, when they come in the shop, no matter how they look or how old they are, anything at all, is what do you like, meaning a style of kitchen, and how much would you wish to spend?
Are you asked for the budget quite quickly?
Oh yes, because at John Nicholls we offer 4 kitchen ranges.
Okay.
So nowadays you can get a fairly similar style of kitchen
Okay.
at half the price or twice the price.
Right.
So we need to steer the client through the showroom.
So rather than wasting lots of time and the client's time,
Oh, yes,
potentially,
yeah,
you get
yeah.
that information up front. So you'd ask where else they've been potentially as well?
Yeah, because
So-
if they've been to one of the big sheds
Yeah.
and they're looking at our bespoke range,
Yeah.
there's no comparison, is there?
Would you ask them when they wanted the kitchen for your time management?
Usually, yes, yeah, because that
how
will
many,
also
how many plans are you tending to work on at any one time at John Nicholls?
at any one time
Yeah.
we've usually got around 20 on the go.
As a team?
No, each.
Good grief,
I
so
would
you're
say-
working on 20 plans, yeah, so it's very
I would say
important
about
to
20.
understand, that's your advice to anybody else listening or
Yeah.
watching, is that they need to understand from the customer when they actually want the kitchen.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But you should do things in order.
Right.
which I tend not to do.
Right, okay.
But that's how I've done it for
If somebody
38
rings up,
years.
so I've been in on a Monday, Les, and they ring up on the Tuesday, where's my plan?
No, but I tell them when I go and measure the kitchen.
Right.
Think of
So
around
you
a
condition-
fortnight.
You condition people
Yeah,
up front, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
But occasionally, someone might come in who needs a drawing almost tomorrow,
Right.
and if it's
Never
a
happens.
Nicholls account,
All right, account customer.
yeah.
Okay.
So we appreciate repeat business here.
Yes, of course.
So I would deal with that quickly, probably.
Right. Okay.
Forget about the
So
£50,000
you have to
kitchen.
always try and
Yeah.
reprioritise depending on the customer
Yeah.
and the needs.
But somehow we get there in the end.
Okay. So in the trade press, there's a big piece now on should you be a designer or should you be a salesperson? What do you think, Les?
I would say always a designer.
Design first.
Yeah, absolutely, because we are a design company.
Okay.
I mean, I have a design degree anyway,
Okay.
but even without that, we're here to design kitchens, and sometimes I think it's a shame that we actually have to sell it as well.
Right.
But I design it, and people seem to like it
Okay.
and buy it.
So you're almost saying if you get the brief understood from the
Yeah.
client and you give the client what they want, they should be that bowled over with it because you've met
Yes.
their needs. They should be buying it by
Absolutely.
default, almost, yeah.
hmm
So you're suggesting potentially if you're a salesperson first, you maybe have to make allowances for the fact you haven't perhaps got the right design potentially.
Yeah, I mean, almost every design, you present a design, and then the customer will come in to look at it,
Right.
and you'll tweak it.
Okay.
Because although I've designed it, it isn't my kitchen in the end.
Right. Okay.
So it is actually important for me, for you, the client,
Mm.
almost to change something a little bit,
Right.
so that you've got your input as well.
Yes. Okay. So you're giving them the benefit of your experience and your advice.
Yeah.
So just
And,
on,
and a suggestion.
and a
Suggestion of a
course.
layout, isn't it, really?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So just on that subject about designing. So you, as I understand it, are designing primarily on a 1 to 20 scale rule basis.
Yes, yeah.
Can you tell me why you think the customer quite likes that and why you've carried on doing that for how many years with John Nicholls? Remind me.
In my 26th year now.
26 at John Nicholls.
Yes, yeah.
So you would have designed 26 years predominantly with a 1 to 20 scale rule.
Yeah, well, for 38 years.
38 years overall. So can you tell me what does the customer say when you explain that's how you do it compared to most people nowadays, of course, who use technology?
Well, we do get customers occasionally who actually like to see a hand drawing.
Right.
And my advice to anybody, although it's the old-fashioned way now, would be to learn how to draw a kitchen by hand.
So your advice would be, although technology is very important for us all now,
Yes.
is
Yeah.
actually some of the old-fashioned, let's call it old-fashioned
Mhm.
ways, are still quite credible for a customer.
Absolutely.
They quite like it.
And when I do my plans by hand, I feel more part of the kitchen
Interesting.
rather than the computer drawing it.
Interesting. So you think almost you're putting more thought into what
Yes,
you're doing.
you feel more, a greater connection with the job.
What's the customer feedback when you present that? What do they say?
Oh, well, often they're quite surprised, of course,
Right. Okay.
because it is the way generally these days with computer.
Yes.
But the trouble with computers is that if 5 shops in town have the same program and do almost the same layout,
Mm.
where's the difference?
So you think,
You need the customer to look at the unit they're buying,
Okay.
not just a picture.
Okay. Do you think then, let's say, young people coming through the industry would probably be more akin to technology-based
Yeah,
presentation?
yes, they are.
And do
They
you
are.
think that
Yeah.
what you're saying is potentially they should go back to the drawing board and actually understand maybe specifications, dimensions, which you would do more? I
Oh
guess,
yes,
with the
yeah.
drawing board?
Oh yeah. People coming into the trade,
Yeah.
I think it's still good to learn how to draw by hand,
Interesting. Okay.
even though we're probably the last of that, of a dying trade, really, the hand
Right.
drawer.
Okay. So in terms of Nicholls being a big part of your career, what do you think's been the key benefits to yourself and the customer,
hmm
and for the length of service you've had at Nicholls? What's the benefits for the customer for that length of time in one company?
Well, obviously you get to know the product very well.
Yeah.
It is a company with an excellent showroom
Yes.
and
award-winning showroom.
good quality product,
Yes.
whether it's the lower end or the high end.
Okay.
You know, we do not sell rubbish here,
Right.
but it doesn't have to be expensive.
Okay.
And because I've worked so long in this area, recommendation and the name of Nicholls is very important as
yes,
well.
of course. Yeah. But then, of course, you personally, your own personal brand is also important because you've looked after people. Customer comes in and says, "I want to deal with Les." Where's
Yeah.
Les?
Yeah.
So how many kitchens out of 10 would you say are recommendations from yourself personally?
Well, I would say it's more than half now.
Good grief, yeah, that's
Yeah,
good, yeah.
yeah.
That's very strong, isn't it?
Yeah.
So then in terms of going back to that selling or designer aspect, then I guess they've already decided they want to buy a kitchen from you if they're the recommendations. Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah.
That's perfect. Is that good? So, what advice can you give somebody in the trade to increase their own recommendations? What advice would you suggest is helpful?
Just try and do a good job. Be very honest with people.
Honest?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely honest.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't be a salesman. That's why I'm saying be a designer first.
Okay.
But it just so happens that you're the one that they buy the kitchen from.
Okay.
But just listen to the client.
Transparency, trust.
Yeah, absolutely
listening.
trust. Yeah.
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 Okay. Anything else that's important to get confidence from a customer?
Well, since I got older, I talk a lot to my clients anyway. So even though they're only my clients, they are almost like friends, really. Which is a strange thing to say because they're just a customer in the end. I'm only the man drawing the kitchen, but the relationship I get with my clients, they will come back, year after year if they move house.
Oh, this is repeat customers.
Oh yeah. So I'm doing kitchens now for people who I did even 30 odd years ago.
30 years ago, they come back for a
20
second,
20 odd years ago.
kitchen.
Yeah, or up to 6 or 7.
7 kitchens.
If they've moved house regularly, which is marvellous, really.
Fantastic, is that? Okay. So, what advice could you give people that are, let's say, thinking about setting up a kitchen and bathroom showroom in the current, let's say, challenging marketplace? What advice could you give somebody who wants to set up today?
Well, the range of products we have at Nicholls is what any good shop should have.
Okay.
Definitely British kitchens.
So British?
Yeah.
Support British manufacturing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely a handmade kitchen.
Handmade kitchen.
Which is more likely to be British again.
Right, okay.
Also a German range.
Okay.
Because I think even after all these years, the Germans still lead in technology. I mean, that's why most ranges have got German fittings.
Right.
Whether it's hinges, runners, the component parts still tend to be German.
Okay. So your advice would be look at a balanced spectrum of products.
Yeah, balanced spectrum
For the customer.
in style and even in price as well.
Okay.
If you want to try and cater for the whole market.
Okay.
But again, this is working on the Banbury area.
Okay.
We're an ordinary town.
What about location? So you mentioned the Banbury area. So where Nicholls is located, it's obviously not in a high street location. No. It's off the high street. What would you call industrial?
Well, it was it's an old industrial estate, really, isn't it?
Originally, wasn't it?
Originally an old industrial estate.
Yeah.
But the beauty of Nicholls is because we aren't on a high street.
Yes.
Is that you don't get many time wasters in here.
Right. So they come here. They
come here because they want to buy a kitchen or bathroom.
So what advice would you give someone in terms of location for a new business potentially, with the experience you've got? Where is best in today's economy to have a kitchen business?
Probably edge of town.
With parking on the outskirts?
Yes, yeah, because parking is more likely to be free.
Okay.
And no distractions either.
No distractions. So what you're saying is if somebody comes to an out of town situation, they're normally wanting to buy, there's less time wasters potentially.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay, that's good advice. Okay. So, over your career, and we said it was how many years, Les?
Quite a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, well, 38 designing.
38 designing.
Yeah.
So, there's only more than 38. Or am I missing something?
No, well, the 2 years, first 2 years, I didn't design, remember.
Okay, but you're still involved in the industry.
Still was working.
So we're talking potentially 40 years.
Yeah, so it's 40 years in the industry.
You are a true legend.
Am I?
Back to our earlier conversation. You are a true legend. So, what do you think are the key industry changes over 40 years from when you first joined the industry or decided to get involved in the industry to where we are today? What are the key changes that people need to be aware of or you've experienced that are good, bad, or indifferent?
Well, the many changes is the choice of product.
So, the choice of products.
Tremendous choice. Even at a worktop, there's so many different variations you can have.
40 years ago, for example, you may have how many worktop choices?
Well, 40 years ago, it was predominantly laminate, usually original Formica.
So not so many solid surface options?
No.
Okay.
And the upmarket kitchen would have a wood-edged one.
Okay.
And of course now with quartz, granite, corian, so many different types of worktop.
Okay.
Even the thickness of the worktop. Years ago it was 30 or 40 mil.
Yes.
Now it can be from around 12 mil to 100 mil. So there's almost too much choice.
So the choice. So if you're a manufacturer in the KBB marketplace, let's say 40 years ago, you'd have had some basic key units and available items. if you're a manufacturer today, there's a lot of choice.
Yes, yeah.
And how do you think the customer responds to that much choice? Is it sometimes too much choice?
I would say most of the time too much choice.
There's too much choice for the customer coming in.
But what can help with the choice, of course, is back to budget again.
Right.
So that will help steer you through
yeah.
the maze that we have of product.
Right, yeah. And the customers are very aware when they come in terms of what's available?
Not always, no.
Okay. So most people, they want you to advise them on what they should be considering.
That's right.
Options.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Anything else in terms of changes over 40
years?
Yeah,
I think the sad change over 40 years for me personally is that 40 years ago you would look at a kitchen in a magazine or on television and you could usually tell whose kitchen it was. Because the various manufacturers had their own style.
Right.
Now, with the world changing, with television, the internet, there's a generic look almost.
Right,
so you can look at a kitchen now and you can't tell whether it's English, German, Italian.
Right.
It's a universal look in kitchens.
Right. Okay.
And that universal look is even available through different price bands as well.
Right. Okay. So how would that then? You're saying when the customer looks at their options and which retailers they would go to, you're saying that most retailers now can probably create the look the customer wants because it's quite generic.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
See, when I worked at English Rose all those years ago.
So you've got to have the choice now. That's your point.
At English Rose, the company made the frontages. We made oak doors from scratch. Everything was built in the factory. And of course, 40 years later, you have these continental companies and even China mass-producing doors that lots of English companies buy.
Right.
Lots of English companies now are an assembly plant almost, aren't they?
Right. Okay.
Where the carcass is built
components in
and components are applied. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, what's important to a customer in terms of what kitchen they buy? What are the key facets which is important advice from a customer buying a kitchen?
Well, it's got to be the look that they want.
Right.
And offer the interiors that they want in the kitchen.
Okay.
And
so storage solutions.
Storage solutions. And again, that's where it's changed in the time.
Do customers ask about storage, or do you have to tell customers about storage?
I would say to a degree we tell them.
Okay.
But for me now in kitchens, I would say that in the future, I can see almost a hinged door cabinet not being available.
A hinged door cabinet.
Because a hinged door is a unit you have to look into to get to the back.
Okay.
Whereas now, of course, the beauty with all the pull-outs.
Everybody wants it.
And and the kitchen is very accessible for every age and ability.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's how I think kitchens will go.
Well, that's where it's going. You say. Yeah. So it's less manual intervention.
That's right. Or it's just easy access is the thing for modern kitchens.
Okay. So in terms of appliances in the industry, so what would you say, Les, that over the years has been the change in terms of the specifications that appliances have offered? And what's important now for the customer? What are they asking for? What do customers want in terms of their appliances?
Well, it depends on the age of the client.
Yeah.
So the younger clients we're getting now want Wi-Fi linked appliances.
Wi-Fi, that's a new thing, isn't it?
So of course, because of my age, I couldn't care about it.
Right.
Just go and switch an oven on.
Okay.
I don't have to do it from the office.
How does it turn on?
Yeah. Appliances, of course, even in appliances, it's a great choice.
Right.
Years ago, it was ovens, range cookers,
and
electric or gas hobs.
Too much choices there again?
Well, there's probably less choice in furniture because of this generic look idea.
Right. Okay.
Whereas appliances, there's all these additional appliances now.
Okay.
Years ago, it was ovens, gas and electric hobs.
Yes.
And of course, when I went into kitchens, the odd dishwasher.
The odd dishwasher.
So now it is.
Isn't a dishwasher
practically every kitchen is a dishwasher.
Yes.
And ovens can offer many programs that you may or may not need.
So what advice would you give someone who's coming into the industry and there's a lot of choice in terms of appliance brands and the models and the functionality. So what advice would you give someone? How would you learn? How do you begin to learn that choice? What would you suggest someone would do? And let's say you're a young designer and then there's all these brochures here. What would you do?
Well, strangely enough, in appliances, we still tend to lean towards Germany.
So you tend to lean towards, so your advice would be look at Germanic appliance brands first?
Because they do have a reputation for quality.
Okay.
But without being extreme pricing either.
Right. Okay. So that's your advice. That's the way you would learn that first percent. That's what customers are asking for, is it?
It's just how it has been for many years.
Many years. Okay. Interesting. That's been quite constant. Yeah.
Continentals tended to lead the way again.
So what could a British appliance manufacturer do to make a difference, do you think?
Well, offer what the Continentals do.
Which is?
But I'm a little bit blinkered because I tend to sell Continental appliances.
Right.
Even though I like my British kitchens.
So it's a specification of the Continental appliances that the British manufacturers should have a look at.
Yeah.
A higher spec. Okay. Problem. Okay. So in terms of how you've been successful over the years and the thousands of kitchens that you've sold, is there any more advice you can give in terms of how can a young designer be more successful and sell, let's say, higher value kitchens potentially? Mm-hmm. How can somebody be more successful in kitchen design and sales?
Yeah, I do enjoy talking to people, as my colleagues will tell you.
Yeah, so you're talking about things other than the kitchen
yes,
first.
Everything.
And that's what that's your advice really, is to get to know your customers.
Yes, get a rapport with the client.
Yes.
I mean, a tiny example is that when my daughter got married 10 years ago, there were 4 of my customers waiting outside the church. Well, I didn't tell them that with the wedding that day, but another one of my colleagues told them. Yeah. And they were there.
So I would imagine you're invited to dinner a fair few times.
Yes.
And what would be your normal answer? Is it quite tricky, or do you tend to accept for the ones that you...
If it's me on my own, I will go.
Oh, you do go?
Yeah.
Interesting. That's because most people I would speak to would say, we always politely decline, but you would actually go.
But my wife isn't, she doesn't like going.
Right. Because
she doesn't know the people.
And there's your recommendations.
Yeah.
So in terms of, let's say, how you've helped, because the industry is very big in terms of training and education, that message. Mm-hmm. So how over the years, let's say when you've worked at Nicholls, have you supported someone that's young into the business, and how have you mentored someone in terms of making them more successful? So could you want to relay any specific stories? Or
no, I mean, we don't have a training program as such at Nicholls.
You help people.
But when new designers come in, Mark and I, the 2 older designers, we're there to answer any questions.
Okay.
Yeah. But even now, after all these years, I will occasionally do a job that I might get stuck on the design. Okay. And this is where, as part of a team, we actually help each other.
So you're saying there's no specific training program per se, but you're a very strong team here.
Well, I understand that nowadays, I mean, there are colleges that do even kitchen designing degrees.
Yes.
I think there's one in Hull or somewhere.
Yes.
Which, of course, didn't exist when I did my degree.
Right.
And so it's probably a good thing to do, because it develops the design ability.
So your advice is, if there's somebody who is interested in design, is to research the available design options in terms of training, to try and give somebody a bit more of a head start potentially. Yeah. But in terms of Nicholls here, you've probably helped each other as team members.
Yes. So anybody new coming in,
you help each other. Yeah.
I mean, we rarely have anybody coming into the business from scratch with no background.
Okay.
But although we do have somebody now, and
so how have you helped that person? What have you done to help that person?
Well, just answer the questions that she may have, or make suggestions when she shows a design to you.
Okay, you make some recommendations based on
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying your advice would be do the design first, and ask people who are more experienced to give their input.
See what we think of the design. Yeah,
that's good advice. Okay. In terms of the KBB industry, what do you think frustrates you personally about the industry, and how do you think we could provide a solution to that frustration?
Well, I can't think offhand of any frustration at the moment in the industry.
Okay.
The Brexit business, if anything, has helped this area, because people are buying the kitchens now because they're unsure what might happen after Brexit.
So you're being clever by saying, actually, we'll quote the kitchen for you today, but I can't tell you what happened to the price or potentially
because no one knows yet, do they?
So therefore you need to give me a deposit today.
Well, but I don't ask for the deposit.
Right.
But they come in to say
they volunteer the deposit.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. So that's actually very clever, because
I don't generally ask for an order.
No.
Which I probably should do.
Right.
But I just don't.
This is more natural. But a lot of retailers, I would suggest at the minute, would be saying actually it's quite a challenging marketplace. Mm-hmm. But what you're saying, actually, your advice would be, let's utilise the current situation as a potential close, which is natural, which is your word, isn't it? So that's a natural close. Rather than asking, it's more natural.
Yeah.
And you're putting the fear in the customer's mind that if they don't buy from you
or
today,
the customer comes in with that idea that perhaps they should go for the kitchen now rather than wait for Brexit.
Wait for Brexit, yeah.
Don't wait for Brexit.
That's the advice. Les Martin says, do not wait for Brexit.
But I could imagine in the London area, for instance, there will be a difference, because after all, London did vote to remain in the EU.
Okay.
So I regard London as being a different world practically.
Okay. Okay. Different market.
Just a different way of life. You know, it's quite different,
Okay.
isn't it?
So, what do you admire in the industry, and why? What do you admire in the industry? Anything you admire at all?
Nothing in particular. But what I like about the industry is that generally every home has a kitchen.
Right.
So everybody will need a kitchen.
Okay. So you're saying that there's the opportunity.
Yeah. Because the industry, what do I admire about it?
Yeah.
I see me doing kitchens now where I saw that look many years ago.
Oh right. Okay. So it's like a carousel.
Yeah. It's you know that.
Is this particularly maybe painted kitchens, for
Well,
example?
painted kitchens are definitely very popular in this area.
Okay.
But even high gloss kitchens, I can remember them being available, 40 years ago probably.
Oh really? So
And
this is a proper
although
high
that
gloss-
wasn't the general Banbury market,
lacquered high gloss kitchens.
lacquered or people like English Rose or Wrighton had high gloss laminate
Wrighton
kitchens.
Kitchen, that's a brand.
Yeah.
Wrighton too.
Well, Elizabeth Ann, all those old names that have now gone.
Fan, yeah. Yeah.
But the German kitchens 40 years ago
Right.
offered beautiful contemporary kitchens generally.
Right.
And that's become more a look now, 40 years later.
Right.
Just taking a while to catch up.
So maybe the advice is to manufacturers consider things that have been and gone in the past, and actually review that.
But I think where design is concerned,
come back round again, yeah.
it does come back round
It
again.
does come back.
Whether
round.
it's fashion or interior design.
Okay. What do you think the next big trend will be in kitchens, Les? What do you think it will be? What sort of thing don't manufacturers offer today that could offer in the near future? That'd be
Difficult to
popular?
say because in this area
Think
the two.
about what's sold before that could come
Yeah.
back in fashion again then potentially.
But I've sold before.
Yeah.
If I look at my history in kitchens,
Yes.
I designed kitchens a long time ago, particularly French kitchens,
French. Yeah.
which nowadays would be completely impractical because they were almost
Because-
too ornate,
Well, too fussy.
too fussy. Yeah,
Okay.
and
So you're suggesting that might be a trend.
but
in
you
the
never
market?
know what might come round again.
Okay. So what sort of store styles, say for example, may be in fashion? Let's say in the next 2 or 3 years potentially.
Well,
Colours or
the biggest change, and it's gradually coming along with laminate doors,
laminate doors.
it's coming through in laminate, is to have wood finished doors again,
So this is the texture.
with texture or just the look of wood.
So the look of wood, but not wood. So the price is kept down.
Because at the moment we're doing primarily painted, especially shaker style.
Okay.
Yes, Banbury is a traditional town really, so a trendy kitchen in this town is a high gloss door,
Is a high cost.
usually a J handle.
Okay.
And before painted came in, of course, we were doing wooden kitchens.
Right.
And now we rarely do a wooden kitchen.
So customers used to ask for you saying they want to buy a wooden
Yeah.
kitchen specifically, and they're not asking the same
I'm not asking for that
as they
now.
were previously. Were you doing maybe 5 years ago, Les, wooden kitchens?
5 years ago, probably when the painted kitchen became the thing to have.
Okay.
But prior to that, prior to 2000,
Yes.
the most popular kitchen I remember was an oak door,
Right.
usually a cathedral arch style.
Right. Okay.
And then in 2000, cathedral arch doors went out of fashion,
Right.
as did limed oak.
Right.
You think somebody had almost banned it.
Right.
Square-shaped doors came in,
Right.
which went towards a shaker, of
You're
course.
now replacing those kitchens, I'm assuming. So what advice can you give somebody in terms of customer comes in and they say, I've got no idea, Les, what I want to buy. How do you get the customer to decide? How do you
Well, the trouble is we can only give them the brochures that we have,
Right.
and they choose from that brochure.
But you said before that it's quite generic, the industry offer.
Yes.
So within a brochure, you would find most options
Yeah.
for the customer.
Well, within the brochure, people will either like something traditional
Okay.
or a more contemporary look.
Okay, so you start with that question. So your advice would be, are you looking for more traditional, more contemporary?
Yes, yeah.
Les, would you say that it's a fair statement that you would tend to sell what you like,
No,
personally?
I ask the
You
client
don't.
what they like,
Okay,
because despite my age,
yeah.
I still like contemporary kitchens.
You like contemporary?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So your advice is not to be led by what you like, but to really understand what the customer really
Yeah,
wants.
because it's the customer's kitchen in the end, isn't it?
It's the customer's kitchen.
The worst thing you could do is sell a kitchen and for the client to come back in afterwards and say,
I made a terrible
They
mistake.
don't
Les.
like it.
Can you help me?
because we don't
Yeah.
take it back, do we?
Okay, no, we don't. No. Technology, you said, was very, very current in terms of the options you've got to present to the customer. I guess is the right word. And of course, this is 4D theatre, which I know you may have seen that, Les, which is
Yes.
virtual reality.
So that's
special.
the way things are going, of
It's quite
course.
special. That could
Yeah.
be the case for the future. Back to the 1:20 scale rule.
Mhm.
So what do you think, Les, in terms of technology is going to be the case for a customer's purchasing habits in the future, let's say in 5 years' time? How do you see that changing?
Well, there will be a lot more of that feature,
Which
you know,
feature?
where you have, what do you call it again, the
Virtual reality.
virtual reality.
Okay, yeah.
But virtual
Have you
reality,
tried it before yourself? Or
I have tried it, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And it's very good, of course.
Okay.
But everything looks good on a photograph and a film.
A film.
Well, you know, if you look at
Movies,
something on
moving-
television or
moving
whatever,
picture,
you know,
right.
on a brochure,
Okay.
everything looks good, doesn't it?
Okay.
But you need to touch the product,
Interesting.
and that's what you can't do.
So you're saying feeling and touching is very,
Yeah,
very important.
absolutely.
So
You don't want to. You need to feel the, you know, the weight or how smoothly the drawers work,
Okay.
the weight of a door.
Okay.
You cannot tell from a photograph or a brochure.
Okay. So I guess the advice from yourself is if the technology companies are investing in this 4D technology, then they would need to think about a solution for the future, actually be able to feel and touch that as well,
Yeah.
which will make the difference.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
But I suppose the only trouble is that when they do develop that feature,
Yeah,
they'll make every drawer so smooth anyway
right.
that you won't be able to tell the difference from one range to another, will you?
Right, okay. That's a fair point. Okey-dokey. So, in terms of, we spoke very briefly about Brexit. Do
Mhm.
customers come in to the showroom and are they saying, well, ooh, I need to wait until Brexit and I'll make a decision perhaps a little bit later? No one's actually said
Not in
that.
this area, no.
Not in this
I would
area,
say
so
it's, if anything, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Brexit or whatever will happen,
Yes.
will happen.
Yes.
So they want the kitchen now, just in case things go downhill.
Right.
If they've got the cash there anyway, they might as well have a kitchen.
Okay, so we covered that earlier.
Yeah.
So that's actually a strength, not a weakness, you suggest.
Mm.
Maybe we'll have a Brexit every year, perhaps.
No, but we've had it for 3 years, and I remember.
Okay, so and then finally for today, and thank you. It's been a really good chat actually. Lots of good advice for people watching. In terms of your career, and let's call it 40 years in the KBB marketplace.
Okay.
Can you relay, let's say, an amusing story that people might find interesting
Not in particular.
or funny?
Yeah, there's probably lots of funny things have happened over the years.
Okay.
But I did a kitchen 30 odd years ago
Okay.
for my oldest client.
Your oldest client.
Yeah, and a lady of 95.
Good grief. Okay.
I lived in Kidlington,
Yes.
and I did a complete kitchen for her,
Okay.
including all new appliances.
So she wanted all new appliances, new kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
lovely.
when the job was finished, and she loved the kitchen,
Fantastic.
she wanted to know what the guarantee on the appliances was.
Does she?
Yeah. To which I wanted to say lifetime.
Oh, you were stopping yourself from saying that.
I couldn't say that to her,
Okay, right.
but it probably was.
Probably was a lifetime guarantee.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, bless.
But no, there's all sorts of funny little things happen along the way.
Mm.
And, kitchens,
But you were saying, oh, that's the fun element, is working with your colleagues and the team,
yeah, enjoying
enjoying
working with the team
Yes,
and enjoying working with the public.
yes,
Because, I mean, the public these days are more demanding than ever.
right,
Unfortunately, the internet hasn't helped,
okay,
because they will stand in the showroom with you with their iPhone out, comparing prices with what you've got.
really, yeah,
So they're
right in front of you.
Right in front of you.
Right, interesting, yeah,
But so that's how
Yeah.
things are changing.
yeah, okay.
But this is where the showroom is important.
Have you ever had a customer come into the showroom quite irate, Les, and how have you dealt with that? What advice can you give someone that's dealing with an irate customer?
Well, depending, it might be.
It never happens in
It might
Nicholls, of
depend what they're irate with.
course. Yeah,
But generally, you usually agree with them.
you just yeah.
Yeah, and they're usually quite
So it
surprised.
takes the wind out of the sails.
Of course it
so
does,
That's
yes.
your advice, is just to sort
Because
of-
we're on their side in the
you're on,
end.
okay, right.
Yeah,
You give that impression that you're on their
Oh,
side
yeah.
to try and help them. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, so your advice would be to agree with them first, and
Mhm.
then
And then work out the problem.
right, work through
And
it.
then hopefully in the end you have a happy customer
Yes,
who hopefully will recommend you.
which goes back
And
to your
Nicholls.
referrals. That's
Yeah.
it, yeah, perfect.
And that's just how it goes on. It's a treadmill. It just
Okay.
repeats.
Okay.
And
Not for too many years, hopefully.
well, if anything, I'm actually enjoying the job almost more since I
Ah.
became beyond retirement.
So almost you're suggesting, because you've learnt so much over the years, and then
Yeah.
you're programming yourself to enjoy what you do more and more and more.
Oh yes, yeah.
It's growing in popularity for yourself.
See, I up to the age of 65, certainly my generation, you should be at work.
Right.
Beyond that age, it is absolutely my choice, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't have to be here.
No.
But
You
because I enjoy
what
it
you
so
do.
much,
Yes.
I just carry on.
You just carry on. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully there'll be many more years. Les, thank you ever so much for
That's
being
all
here
right.
today, and great advice for our listeners and our watchers. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Okay then.